Love this podcast? Support this show through the Acast supporter feature. It's up to you how much you give, and there's no regular commitment. Just click the link in the show description to support now.
The River City Wrestling Con is happening June 8th and 9th at the World Golf Village in St. Augustine, Florida. Visit rivercitywrestlingcon.com for more information and tickets. I'm telling you right now, brothers and sisters, this is going to be the biggest and best River City Wrestling Con ever. Guests scheduled to appear include The Icon, Sting, Trish Stratus, Devon Dudley, Big Vito LaGrasso, Lita, Booker T, the Hardy Boys, and so much more. But get this, there will also be live wrestling action. Vision Pro Wrestling champion Tiffany Nieves takes on Ruthie J. We also have Scotty Sosa going to be taking on the TNA Knockouts champion Jordan Grace. We also have the gold medalist herself, the suplex queen herself, Tiny Thunley. She'll be in action. Once again, folks, World Golf Village, St. Augustine, Florida, June 8th and 9th, the River City Wrestling Con, rivercitywrestlingcon.com for ticket information. Check it out. That's right.
Locked in.
Look at what we have here, folks.
To the only show that matters.
The cream of the crop.
Duke loves wrestling.
And there is no one that does it better than
your host.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
The Duke.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's the King of Battle, Nick Quinones, and you are listening to Duke Loves Rasslin. You know, Duke, when I think about Memorial Day, I think about all of my brothers and sisters in arms who never made it home, even those that stepped foot before us. I think about the people that I personally know that I have lost throughout the years, and Memorial Day means a lot to me, and it should mean a lot to this country.
Well, first and foremost, Nick, it is an honor to have you here on Duke Loves Wrestling. You know, I'm gonna say the traditional thing because, as far as I know, it's a respectful thing to say. So, thank you for your service, because you yourself are a military veteran, right?
Yes, sir, I am.
And even though Memorial Day is about our fallen brothers and sisters, those of you who are still here, still living, still with us, you are reminders of those who've made the ultimate sacrifice. Even those who've died of natural causes. Just the fact that, you've laid your life down for this nation and our friends, our brothers and sister nations around the world, in order to keep us safe. So, there's no way that we can repay you for that. There's no way we can repay your brothers and sisters for that. But damn it, we could at least try. So doing this conversation here today is my way of giving back and showing you that you're appreciated. So again, I thank you for being here on the show.
And thank you. I appreciate being accepted to be on the show. I've been listening to your stuff for a little while, and I'm a little shy and nervous when it comes to things like this, so I'm stepping on my boundaries as well.
Well, that's all good, man, and that's an interesting thing to admit, because you're a guy that's, you've been out there. You've seen combat, right?
Yes.
So a man who's seen combat, but pressing record and having the conversation for the world to hear, it still makes you a little shy, a little nervous. That's very interesting. That's very interesting. Do you still get nervous when you step into a wrestling ring?
Oh yes, every time.
That's interesting, because how many years officially have you been a pro wrestler?
Officially, some people say now 10 years because of when I started, but others would say time in the ring would equal out to about 5.
Okay, because there was you started, and then you had some time off, and then you found your way back to it, right?
Yes, I started in 2012. This was 2 years after I was medically discharged from the military. And at that time, what I didn't know was I was dealing with PTSD.
The PTSD was from your time in the military.
Yes.
Wow. When were you officially diagnosed with that?
I wasn't diagnosed till I moved to Florida in, I think, either 2016 or 2017. They diagnosed me with it.
Oh my goodness! Wow. And how many years were you done with serving in the military at that point? Like say 2016.
26, that was already 6 years.
Wow, bro. 6 years, and you had to figure out how to readjust to society and, essentially rebuild relationships as who you are at that point, after your
Yeah.
service, after all the things you've seen, after all the things you've experienced. Um, and you weren't diagnosed, so you just kind of had to deal with it, huh?
Yep, because especially when you leave, it's a culture shock whenever you go back home. Because depending on how long you were gone, for me, I was gone for almost 5 years. A lot could change in 5 years, and things were different. People were different. People were younger that are now older, and it's like for me, it was like time stopped because you're more in the bubble when you're in the military than when you get back out. It's a whole culture shock like no other.
I had a friend of mine who we grew up, we knew each other since middle school. And he had eventually moved and eventually enlisted, did a number of tours. He was everywhere from Fallujah to Haiti to Jesus. Where else did he go? He was literally everywhere. Lebanon, wherever there was not only combat, but like some really intense situations, he was there. And it was interesting because in between one of his tours, he came back to visit, and we went out and hung out and shooting pool and having a couple of drinks. And there were moments where we'd be talking and then he would just kind of space out. And then he would kind of snap to and what have you. And at one point he was like, "Hey man, I apologize, man. I'm still trying to get this together here, switching it off from where I've been to being back home and being present." And I had to tell him, I was like, "Bro, we've been friends since we were kids. You don't got to explain who you are to me. Doesn't matter what you've experienced. When we're hanging out, I know who you are. You know who I am, bro. So it's all good." And it was almost like a weight was lifted off his shoulders where he didn't have to try to be. He could just kind of just exist. You know what I mean? Like everybody else does that we take for granted. We don't try to be when we're just going through our everyday lives. We just do. We just be. So once we had that little exchange, suddenly he was back to his old self, just relaxed and having a good time and laughing and stuff like that. And it was interesting because later on we spoke about that moment and just what that meant. Have you ever had a moment like that where you were conscious of the fact that even though you were back home, even though you were back in regular society, there was still a lot to adjust to, and maybe you weren't adjusting so easily?
In the beginning, yeah. As time goes on, you start figuring it out. But in the beginning, it's when you get back, you think it's the next week from when you left, and it's really not. It's like if like watching Marvel's Infinity Wars when they did the 5 year blip. That's kind of like how it is, and you're like, wait, what just happened? Like, what's going on? Like, you're going back with friends and family, and things are different. You're trying to catch up on things, and it's a rush. So it's like you gotta. Sometimes it's hard to even just take it slowly.
Pro wrestling is an interesting thing because at times it can be very loud and unpredictable,
Hmm.
and the fans can be a little out of control. And, at times it can be very safe and comfortable and exciting. and therapeutic in the way that it allows you to kind of come out of your shell, especially if you're leaning into a character.
Yeah.
Talk to me just about your relationship with pro wrestling, and really what I want to know is has it helped you with coping with PTSD?
So with pro wrestling, I've been a fan since I was a kid, and wanting to be in it, like I've started when I was in high school. I knew that was wrestling for Jersey Championship Wrestling. I think it was JCW at the time. And this was what 2004, 2005 time frame, and I was like, oh, I want to try to get into it, but I was never able to. I didn't have the time or the money to do it. And then after the military, when I finally found my way into wrestling, I just said, I'm just gonna jump. I'm gonna take the leap, try it out. And I enjoyed it for the fact that you find kind of like a brotherhood, like it was in the military. Um, you find the competitiveness, the athleticism that's within it. It's like working out all the time, no matter what. Or training is always working out, and it's like you start to have fun because you lose yourself into wrestling because then you become a character or gimmick, however you want to call it, and that's not you. So your dramas, your issues, everything is left at the door because now you walked into a building as your persona, and that's who you are for those few hours before you walk back out the door. And with me with PTSD, it's helped me with that, even though my persona is me times, I guess you could say 1,000, because when I started, I was representing a veteran who's trying to spread PTSD awareness. That was my whole time. The first few years, my first few years back into pro wrestling. That's what I was doing. Um, and I started with a model, Blaze the Future. And the reason I started that model was because during the years that I was not wrestling, I was finding myself playing the 2K wrestling games, and I was creating a character, Blaze the Future. And eventually, it grew into my model of helping me get out of my situation and out of me being in the dark, because it's me bringing light to my future. So Blaze the Future means no matter what's happening, what's going on, you light that path on fire and you burn that future down, because now you could reshape it into your own image. And I took that and I ran with it, and then I'm using it in pro wrestling as a model. Um, and I'm still, no matter what, trying to push that with PTSD, because I know there's other people out there like me that's hurting, that can't find their way, and any way that I can, I would like to try to help with that.
When it comes to whatever experience you've had with veteran affairs, whether it be on a state, local, federal level, what have you, how have people responded on that side of things when they find out that you're a pro wrestler now?
So doctors, they want you to find an outlet, whether it's baseball, softball, martial arts, some kind of hobby, something to get your mind at ease, something you're happy about. And that's why some doctors agree with it, but some doctors don't, due to the physicality. And it's not really a struggle. It just makes you want to keep telling that doctor or not of what you've been up to, what's going on while you're there doing your checkups and stuff.
When it comes to your family, Nick, how have they responded to you going into pro wrestling? I mean, obviously they have been with you during the journey of being in the military, basically, being retired from the military because because of your medical leave, you had to be discharged there. how have they responded to the pro wrestling? Do they feel that it's been helpful for you?
Well, it depends on who you talk to. Some are supportive, some aren't so supportive, some don't really care or whatever. But my immediate family, they've been very supportive about it, and they've seen they've seen the change. Like me with a more of a happier demeanor, and like they see the excitement within me when I talk anything about wrestling.
That's great. That's great. Do you feel? I mean, it's helped you. Do you feel that it's something that should be looked into by our government officially? Like, hey, maybe we should be more focused on helping veterans transition into pro wrestling and forms of entertainment like this.
They can, I think so, because it could be added to the programs like how they have the football and baseball. Like they have other programs, and maybe adding professional wrestling too. That would be an extra help for veterans, especially some who like drama or who like to be. They want to be on stage Broadway, or they like the physicality of wrestling. We get so many that a lot of people could benefit from it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I think it's a great idea. It's something that, Duke Loves Wrestling, we just celebrated 8 years doing this podcast.
Okay.
And through the years, we have been very serious and focused on celebrating our military veterans. And, it's something that I think is long overdue. I think for all of you folks out there who are elected officials, because we have a lot of you out there who listen to the show, and thank goodness for that. For those of you who are civically engaged, where you either work for elected officials or, you make sure you keep your finger on the pulse and letting them know what you want to see them do next. Pro wrestling is definitely an outlet that should be endorsed by our government officially as something that veterans can look into and see if it's something that they want to be involved in. They don't always have to be wrestlers. There's more than one job in pro wrestling. They could be behind the scenes people operating the cameras, taking pictures, commentators, referees. My goodness, right? So
yeah, they could be. There's so many job outlets. It's not even funny.
Yeah, but this is just another way that our heroes, and that's exactly what folks like Nick are. You literally are heroes. It's another way for you to take back and maintain control of your life by doing something that allows you to express yourself in a healthy manner while you're still sorting through all the experiences that you had to go through while serving. That's the truth of it. Tell me about your moniker again, because you're officially known as what?
I am officially known as the King of Battle, Nick Quinones.
Okay, the King of Battle.
And yes.
What does that mean?
The King of Battle is actually the nickname for field artillery, which is essentially a job section within the Army. And I was a part of field artillery. I was a field artillery tactical data system specialist, which we dealt with making sure the areas that the tanks and the howitzers would shoot their rounds were good areas to shoot, and there was nothing there ally wise or stuff like that that would misfire. So I took that as a moniker because one, is not out there, no one does it, and two, it's something personal to me. And the way I was doing it was also supporting PTSD. I was trying to spread PTSD awareness, and now I've become more of, you could say, Cobra Commander mixed with Sergeant Slaughter.
Oh wow, the ultimate yin and yang, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. How do the kids respond when they see you come out as the King of Battle?
Well, which kids? You talking about the fans or my kids?
The fans.
The fans, I get mixed reactions. It depends on the shows that I'm at. There's some of them like me being that Cobra Commander. Like they cheer for it. Other ones like they boo me, and most of the time I wonder who's raising these kids with the things they say. Honestly,
Listen, man, you fought for their freedom. You fought for their right to do it, right?
that is true. That is true.
I wonder about this because, in pro wrestling, obviously it's a form of entertainment. It is a athletic exhibition. The whole point is to simulate a fight. Opposing forces battle with each other to determine a winner and a loser. That is pro wrestling in its most basic form. Because of that, there is an expectation that wrestlers are quote unquote tough. They're tough women and tough men. They're tough people. They can kick all the asses and they can stand up and do whatever they want. And there really isn't anyone out there who can stop them. How is it when a guy like you walks into the locker room where, despite whatever happens when the bell rings and you're doing business, at the end of the day, you were out there in battle. You saw combat. And, a lot of decisions had to be made. A lot of things had to happen. And through the grace of God, you're still here with us. How do you handle the whole notion of people who are trying to project and make others believe that they're quote unquote tough when, it doesn't get any tougher, it doesn't get any badass, it doesn't get any stronger than someone with your credentials?
It's at first it was difficult, especially in the beginning, because I sat there like I was trained a specific way, and doing most of the stuff like this, I'm like I could legitimately hurt somebody, or worse, kill them if anything. And like when I started training with Gino Caruso in 2012, he told me whenever I think we started training with the guillotines, doing the front face lock headlock, and he told me this is not the military. So when you do this, please do it lightly. And I was like, okay. So when I did it, I still did it kind of tight, and then he grabbed my arm. He said, "No, lightly. Look like you're doing it. So that way, it's because he knew I knew how to do it properly to where I could stop you automatically." So it takes a little bit, and after a while, you get into the flow. You understand pro wrestling, and you take your experiences. And if your experience matches what you're doing, like for me, my experiences matches what I'm doing. So now I'm this disgruntled. I'm now a disgruntled veteran of sorts that started his own army and is trying to take over professional wrestling as a whole and reshape it in my own image. Now I'm using my moniker Blaze on my quote Blaze the Future, and I'm using it now for my own evil intentions of doing this my way, and this is how I want pro wrestling. So it helps me resonate that more, as well as receive it for whoever I'm in the ring with, and understanding who I'm going against, and it changes the matchup a little bit.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool the way that you broke that down. It definitely helps me understand on a whole nother level there. What about times where you have somebody who, again, they think that they're big and bad, they're a tough guy, and you kind of have to remind them, hey, take it easy. Have you encountered that at all since you've been wrestling?
I have. There's been a couple of times here and there, but some people. It depends on who you talk to. Some people know, like I'm more quiet than anything, and I'm trying to be very respectful. And very few people seen the side of me of don't mess with me, because I don't shy away from what I say. And if you have an issue with me, let's speak it out. We speak it out, and squash it there, or if not, then you go your way, I'll go my way. I feel like I'm already too old to be playing the little kid high school. He said, she said, I want to fight you because of blah blah blah. I'm not for that. I'm not with that. So a lot of people started seeing like I'm not drama based. Like I go to my shows and I'm on my way back home.
Folks, I think it takes a tremendous amount of maturity to recognize and respect the fact that when you encounter somebody like Nick, the king of battle, um, business is business, obviously, but at the same time, you better make sure you have a tremendous amount of grace that you provide someone like Nick because they've earned it. And when you conduct yourself in a manner where you think that you're the biggest and baddest bull in the china shop, so to speak, that's not right. And, it wouldn't take much to be shown otherwise. So proceed with caution and respect. Certainly, that's my advice for everybody out there in those situations, no matter what line of work you're in. Anyways, Nick, who are you primarily wrestling with these days?
Primarily, I am with the World Wrestling Network under one of their shows, Proving Ground, which is every Friday night in Newport Richey, Florida. I also wrestle for WWC Florida, who's based out of Kissimmee, as well as Extreme Global Championship Wrestling, based out of Deltona, now moving into DeBerry, where I currently hold the EGCW Social Media Television Championship.
Awesome. Well, listen, I know that there are people listening right now who would love to check out, the King of Battle and see what you're up to if they haven't already seen you before. And certainly there are promoters out there who I'm sure would want to get in touch with you, including people who are affiliated with the military. You never know. They may want to partner with you to figure out how to deliver on this notion of helping to make pro wrestling an offering to military veterans as just another thing that they can do, that they can get into to help cope with PTSD or just another line of work that they can get into in general. What is the best way for all of these folks to not only follow you, but be able to get in touch with you?
Well, first and foremost, they could definitely go to my Instagram, Nick_Quinones 86. So my last name, some people can't spell, so it's QUINONES, Quinones. So it's Nick_Quinones Nick_Quinones 86 at gmail.com. My Twitter and TikTok is also Nick Quinones 86. I have Facebook, King of Battle Nick Quinones. I also have a YouTube channel, Nick Quinones. So everything is my name. I'm easy to find. I also have an email for bookings and promoters out there that want to bring the King of Battle and his army, the Sons of Battle. You can reach out to me at kobwrestling@gmail.com.
Before I let you go, Nick, I know we've honored our fallen brothers and sisters who've given their life the ultimate sacrifice, what have you, in terms of military. Again, happy. Do I say happy? What is the proper way to say it? Happy Memorial Day, or just observe Memorial Day? What is the proper way to say it?
Throughout the years, it depends. Like it's become happy. Like I don't even think they say Happy Memorial Day. Like I've heard it recently, but it's like, what's so happy about it? It's just Memorial Day. Like it's not just saying it's just Memorial Day, but just I don't know. It's a confusing thing.
You know what? I'm going to start a trend right here, right now with you, Nick. I'm going to start a trend. I am going to make it officially okay to say Happy Memorial Day for this reason. Even though we are remembering our fallen brothers and sisters, it is happy to remember them. It is happy to have an entire holiday remembering them because they did not die in vain. What they fought for is exactly what we experience today It's the reason why I can be on a interview with you, broadcasting it to the world, because of the sacrifices that our fallen brothers and sisters have made. So yes, I will say happy Memorial Day, and I hope that catches on. What do you think about that?
I like that. I like the way you broke it down. I like that. That gives it a good meaning.
Let's talk hydration. See, I carry something to drink with me every single place that I go because I am concerned about being dehydrated. It runs in the family. Everything from dry mouth, dizzy spells, fainting. It's pretty serious. And I've tried all the different types of waters and sports drinks. Let me tell you something right now. Liquid IV. That has been the most efficient at keeping me hydrated and doing so pretty quickly. Okay, Liquid IV has 5 essential vitamins and is 2 times faster at keeping you hydrated than water alone. And I'm serious, man. Everything from vitamin C to vitamins B3, B5, B6, B12. Liquid IV also is non-GMO, so it's free from gluten, dairy, soy. So for all you folks out there with food allergies, this may be right up your alley. And I know what you're thinking, but how does it taste, Duke? Well, it tastes pretty good. Okay, we're talking my favorite in pina colada. They also have tropical punch, strawberry, new flavors like sea berry and strawberry lemonade. You can enjoy this stuff, man. But don't take my word for it. I want you to stop what you're doing right now and head over to liquidiv.com. Use the promo code DukeLovesWrestling so you get 20% off your entire order. I mean, anything that you order on liquidiv.com. So what are you waiting for? It's time for you to shop better hydration today. Use the promo code DukeLovesWrestling over at liquidiv.com. Save yourself 20%. Stay hydrated. Most importantly, enjoy life. That's right. Till next time, be kind to yourselves and be kind to others. Take it away, Tony Schiavone.
This is Tony Schiavone, and we're desperately out of time on Duke Loves Wrestling.